While this isn't the only method of giving depth to a character, and isn't the only step required to achieve great character depth, it is the easiest way to give a character depth instantly. At the very least, it will give your character a fair amount of depth to them. And if you've seen the current state of entertainment recently, you'll understand that that'll put you miles ahead of the competition. And for the rest of you who aren't aspiring screenwriters, you might learn how to spot this framework being used in your favorite characters. Spoilers ahead. Fundamentally, if you want good characters, you must first give them a desire, and that character must actively strive to achieve that desire. If not, you get something called passive characters, and this is something you want to avoid. I tend to hear in some special cases that passive characters can pass as good or even great when done right, and the only thing I can think is when exactly is that gonna happen? I've watched a fair amount of films, animated TV series, especially art house and indie, and I have yet to find a single passive character that is well written. Watching the lives of these passive characters play out is as enjoyable as passing a kidney stone. Genuinely passive characters are not good characters. The protagonist must be actively pushing against the forces of antagonism to achieve their goal, which creates conflict. And if you don't have conflict, you don't have a story. The funny part is that usually in these types of entertainment tend to give side characters goals, which makes me wonder why not at that point just make them the protagonist. I don't doubt after my rant that there's gonna be some half-witted redditor in the comment section saying, "Don't you think making the characters likable is enough to make them good?" As he picks dingleberries out of his ass bush. Which, by the way, it isn't. And what even is a likable character anyway? Someone with a quirky personality? Someone who's nice? Selfless even? At least, that's what I think of when I hear the words likable character. It's advice like just have likable characters that is the least helpful to aspiring writers. It is suggestions like this that play a large role in the creation of these generic passive characters. Well, now that you have a character with a goal, and they're actively striving for that goal, I gotta ask, why? The motivation comes from a problem that is constant in a character's modern life and fuels a desire which the character believes will solve their problem and complete them or make them happy. This is what separates the motivation from the desire. Here, maybe using Breaking Bad will help. The protagonist, Walter White, wants to cook meth. Why? To leave behind a fortune for his family when he eventually dies. We are constantly reminded over and over by the man himself that he is doing this for his family, constantly putting himself in danger of rival gangs and the DEA to achieve his goal. But something's not right here. As Walt keeps putting himself more and more in harm's way, the more he makes his family play a role in his illegal business, and the more he puts his family in danger. So if he's really doing this for his family, why does he actively put them in danger? Why does he continue when he has enough to pay for his cancer treatment and more than enough to leave to his family when he passes? Well, the answer is obvious if you've watched the show.
You need to understand.
I have to hear one more time that you did this for the family.
I did it for me. I liked it. I was good at it. And I was alive.
Leaving a fortune to his family was not his motivation. He didn't cook meth to leave a fortune to his family. He did it because he liked it. That was his actual motivation. Or, in other words, the subconscious motivation. He fooled us, his family, his partner in crime, and most importantly, himself. I say most importantly himself because the fact that his real motivation is subconscious is what makes it character depth. To properly implement a conscious versus subconscious motive like Breaking Bad, you must create a disconnect between what a character says is their motive and their actions. While their choices should at times not line up correctly with their conscious motivation, they should always follow their subconscious motivation. Walter never really did it for his family. He did it because he found out he didn't have much time left. And he wanted to do something dangerous and daring, something that would actually make him feel truly alive. I like to call this specific way of handling subconscious motivation as false selflessness. As on the surface, the character's motivations seem a bit selfless in a way, subconsciously they are really doing it for themselves. Let's look at Shinji Ikari from Neon Genesis Evangelion. Specifically, Neon Genesis Evangelion, the anime. It's quite obvious from episode 1 alone that Shinji does not appreciate piloting the massive robot, so much so that it would be considered that his want is to not pilot the Eva. It's kinda odd because he keeps getting in it. Didn't I say the protagonist should be actively pursuing their goal, and if they don't, they'd be considered a passive character? And I hate passive characters. Unless I missed the part where, as unconventional as it may seem, Shinji actually has two desires. The first is to quit piloting the Eva, and the second is to have people like him. You see, Shinji is lonely, or at the very least, he was until he landed his new job. It didn't take him very long to find out that piloting the Eva has its upsides to it, and that upside just so happened to fulfill the desire he had before he came to Tokyo 3. His subconscious motivation to not be alone pushes him to pilot the Eva. After all, he only needs to kill a few angels and then he'll never have to pilot the Eva ever again. And when that happens, everyone will like him because he saved the world. The acts of him piloting the Eva or running away are both pursuits of his desire, thus making him an active character. You see why I use the words like genuinely in my rant about passive characters. Perhaps this is what they meant by well-written passive characters. However, if this was the case, I could not say in good faith that characters written like this could or should be considered passive, as they are still striving for what they want. They only seem like they have no actual will. This is why this version of subconscious motivation is called false passivity. We can see from both examples that both involve a little bit of self-deception with no self-reflection, which is why they remain subconscious. Problems like Walter not feeling alive and Shinji feeling lonely fuel their wants, whether it's feeling the same goal for Walt, or feeling a different goal to suppress the other for Shinji. We can see these problems rearing their ugly heads from the first few episodes of each series. With Walter, we can see everywhere he goes, he receives little to no respect from his family, work, whatever. He needs to find something that he's extraordinarily good at in order to command respect and feel alive. With Shinji, it's very apparent that he is quite lonely. But while piloting the Eva being both scary and fulfilling, he is able to see how it feels to be wanted for once. Obviously, his father is a major contributor to that, as he abandoned him at a young age, leaving him with his teacher. And the way he acts around Masato when he first starts living in her apartment, it's quite apparent that he wasn't very welcomed by his teacher either. But the odd thing about Eva is that it gives him exactly what he wants, as long as he pilots it. Whether it's friends, a loving guardian, or even bras. Like Walter, it gave him the answer to something he didn't know it would fix. Once again, this isn't the only way to give your characters depth. Both Walter and Shinji have more than just a subconscious motivation that adds depth to them. There are plenty of other characters out there that are heavy in character depth but don't utilize this method. It just happens to be the quickest and easiest way that still holds effectiveness. And just because it's the quickest and the easiest does not mean implementing it will be quick or easy. It is simply the quickest and the easiest way out of all the other options out there to add character depth that won't be turned into a cliche anytime soon. After all, it wouldn't be seen as good writing if giving your protagonist character depth was easy or quick. Now go out there and give depth to your characters. If you like this video, then like it. If you dislike this video, then dislike. If you want to see more, then subscribe. If you like joining Discord servers, then join mine. And if you learned something, please share this video. You have no idea how much it helps a small channel like mine when you do that. I would greatly appreciate it. As per occasion, I'm SteveDender, and I'll see you later, virgins.